Dave, I want to move the conversation forward, and I need to get back to Twitter here. Let's start with Emerson Royale, because I think this sort of sets the tone. It's a bit of a long quote, so give me a second here, guys. The fans started booing me, booed me in the stadium, in our stadium. I would touch the ball and the guys would boo me. Obviously, I don't want that for myself. I'd take the ball on the field, playing the game, dribbling, trying to do things, but it's not an instant situation. Then times passed, the situation continued. I kept working hard. Then I dropped to the bench. Then I came back to the play, and then I turned it around, and the fans, like from hate, turned to love. The fans, they love me a lot. They even made a little song. There are a lot of cheeky guys in the Premier League. I myself am the worst on the field for that. I swear if I played against myself, Royale against Royale, I would kill myself, beat myself up. I'm very annoying. Sonny tries to speak Portuguese, tries to speak Spanish. I say that he is very similar to us Brazilians, like his self-esteem, his way of living life. He's a buddy. I really like him. Now he's our captain. So now he's even more. He took on that responsibility even more. Bissouma acts the most Brazilian out of the squad. He's all Brazilian. He likes our stuff, everything we have, both good and the bad. He likes to go out, likes everything. He's different. I wouldn't take him to Brazil. He'll get arrested there, and it will be my fault. He would mess things up a lot.
Can I just say, Sean, right?
Yeah.
Those who know me well, I've defended Emerson throughout this whole thing, right? I know someone who knows him, and what I found remarkable, whereas Davinson Sanchez collapsed when he was viciously attacked when he came onto the pitch, Emerson's strength of character is quite unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
He used to get, and I told people this story, and people never used to believe me. And I'm going back a year ago now, when people used to boo him and they used to write all those horrendous things about him being the worst footballer ever and the worst signing ever. He used to go back. So after training, he would go home. What would he do? Train again. He trained to become a centre-back, right? And what did he do? Yeah. While he was training, he used to get his mate to read him all the abuse, all of it. Every single bit of it.
Oh, it's insane. It's an insane take, mate.
As a motivational tool, right? So
let's not forget he also spent £1 million of his own money. I know £1 million to him is probably not the same as, it's still a lot of money. It's a lot of money for anybody, right? £1 million to get the greatest scouts to figure out he wanted to replicate Mazraoui at PSG at the time, right? The best best right wing back in Europe a couple of years ago when he was playing in the Conte system. This guy is likable. He's nice. He's fun, right? He's typically Brazilian, lots of rhythm.
Very
and all
popular.
that, likes to dance, incredibly popular. And that's fine. You can be a nice guy, but you can finish last. He also has a desire to prove the doubters wrong and to win people over. The first paragraph, the way that he starts this quote, the fans started booing me, booed me in the stadium, in our stadium. In our stadium, I would touch the ball and the guys would boo me. Right? He was aware of it. He felt it. He didn't moan about it, but he got on with it.
People were sending him death threats, Sean, right? When I'm telling, honestly, it was so bad. When I was telling people what he was doing and he was practicing to become a centre-back, the abuse I got, the laughter, he can't even defend what he's going to be a centre-back. This was last season, at the end of last season, when I was telling people he's preparing because Andrews told him if called upon, he'll be playing centre-back. No one believed me. No one believed what, how determined he was to pull it around. I feel like I'm qualified to talk about this because it's something I've been talking about long before this article ever bloody came out. Listen, he ain't gonna. He's no Pele. He's no. He's not the greatest attacking right back ever. But here's a guy who's constantly working on his game and has got us out of trouble. He's played left back. He's played right centre back, and he's played right back this season. There are players within teams and with squads who have played for our club who don't put in a tenth of the work and determination to improve their game like he has. So we should embrace it and embrace him rather than spending our entire time blaming him for every single defeat or everything that goes wrong, because he is the fall guy. That's it. He's a squad player.
And Richarlison's another fall guy. You can add him to that list as well. But look, I completely agree when it comes to Johnny. Look, I remember, what was it the fans used to sing last year? He can't defend, he can't attack. Emerson Royale, he's our right wing back.
Yeah.
Now, look, I'm going to start off by saying I think fans criticising players is just. Fans paying nearly £100 a ticket for a Category A game. My ticket for North London Derby was €87, which is absolutely insane. So fans are entitled to make their frustrations heard, especially with how shit things have been the last 4 years. What do you want fans to do? Stand there and applaud them off the pitch? Never going to happen. Especially, and the more you ramp up prices, the more expensive you make it, the more demand it, and the less intolerable people are towards the shit that they're seeing on the football pitch. It comes hand in hand. However, with Emerson, one thing I didn't understand is, okay, wasn't the best going forward, but the guy could always defend. He was always solid defensively, and when, I had people, telling me how great Matt Doherty was. I watch Matt Doherty more than everybody. Emerson's 10 times the player than what Matt Doherty is. Better than Serge Aurier as well. So I didn't understand the criticism towards Emerson. I get going forward, but if you're relying on your fullback to create and score goals for you, you've got a massive problem. That's why you pay attacking players to do. When it comes to Emerson, he's filled in at centre-back better than what Ben Davies has. And Davies has had years on him to get to grips with that position. What I like about Emerson is the attitude. How many players have I heard come out moaning before about, them getting stick off fans and stuff like that? Dyer walking up into the stands, to save his brother. Shouldn't need to. If you're putting the performances on the pitch, you wouldn't need to walk up into the stands, to save your brother. You wouldn't need to, come out and try and bat away the criticism. And all they're doing is pissing fans off even more by doing it. Emerson didn't do that. He didn't moan, didn't cry. He just says, okay, I'll come back even stronger and I'll show you. And that's an old school mentality that is rare in football nowadays. And more
100%.
players need to take a leaf out of his book. Instead of crying and running at the first sign of trouble, use it as motivation. We're YouTubers. We all get criticism. Do we run away from it? No, we don't. We take it on board and stuff like that. And that's exactly what Emerson has done. And what I love about him is he's invested his own money into his own career. Other players that have come out moaning in the past have not done that, and they leave themselves open to criticism. And it's painted like, oh, fans are just being mean. Fans are getting out of order. It's not the case. A lot of these guys' egos and their attitudes are getting out of order, out of place. They paid that much money. They think they can do what they want and pull the wool over your eyes. It's not the case. Someone like Emerson, he could have just said, look, get me out of here in the summer. Most people, after Conte's first season, wanted him sold straight away in that summer. But he's come back, and he's come back even better. And for me, that's the sign of a player I want at this football club, with a mentality like that. Instead of coming out blaming fans for everything all the time, take responsibility and look in the mirror. And that's exactly what he's done, and I applaud him. And if my dad fancies Emerson, if my dad loves Emerson, then that should tell everybody what they need to do, because my dad has zero tolerance for shit.
Yeah. Let me ask you that then, just on extension of that. 2 questions, Dave, and then I'll get Johnny's take before we move into the Kulusevski thing, because the Kulusevski thing, there's lots of tentacles where we can go into, but I actually want to focus on his take on the Chelsea game as well, which was the other side of the coin, right? With what how the fans reacted to a loss, and we'll get to that point. So the takeaway from me, having listened to Emerson and to Kulu, which we're going to talk about, is that the fans' influence on these players should be remembered. And I think not that this channel has any real reach or anything like that, but I think that sometimes there is influence that you should bake in mind, because these guys are human, and if you want the best version of the players, then you should be able to, I think, as right. Cantab says here, criticize, don't boo, critique, but don't go over the top.
I fully understand the point you're making, right? That players have an influence, and what human being doesn't like being praised, doesn't like seeing songs sung about them. But at the same time, people have made excuses for the likes of Sanchez for years, why he wasn't doing this, why he wasn't doing that. After 4 or 5 years,
it's the method of how you hold them accountable.
And then all of a sudden, it was the fans' fault that he was playing the way he was playing. That's not the case. He was playing crap long before that, and it works both ways. Yes, we have an effect on them, but they also have an effect on us. And with the squad and that we've seen the last 4 years heading into this season, or prior to that, has not been good enough. To haven't pulled the weight. My mum, who doesn't even watch football, came to me after a game last season and says, Dave, your players aren't even trying out there. Now, if my mum, who doesn't watch football, can spot that, I'm sorry, But like it goes hand in hand. If you perform, you get love. If you don't perform, things turn the way they've turned. And the players, they can sit there and blame the fans and circumstances all they want. They're the ones in control of that situation. They didn't put the effort in, so they've deserved the criticism. We barely criticise a lot of these new guys or the squad this season. Criticism's come a point, but it's been nowhere near the way it has the last few years. Why? Because they're putting the effort in. Even after that Chelsea game, most fans applauded them off the pitch because they put the effort in, even though they lost. So we'll talk
about the Chelsea game in a minute, but there's two players that I want to just briefly talk about on this topic because I think it's quite an emotive topic. Dave, I can see you're amped up and I love it, and I want to get Johnny's take on this as well. Dave mentioned Richarlison as another player that is get put into that kind of basket, the same basket as Emerson. Now, I personally am someone that I've laid my cards out about Richarlison. I am delighted that he is pulling his weight. And Johnny, I know you love Richarlison.
Well, no,
I know you have. I know you have a
connection.
A connection to Richarlison. So I want to get that. But listen, I personally think that there is a very major difference. To Dave's point, Dave's just made the point there that fans have influence on the output of players. The players are human. The human nature is that they're going to feel the hate. Some players are going to react good to it. Some players are going to react bad to it. Emerson Royal was the sort of guy, the character, who takes that hate and uses it as fuel to his fire to go and improve. And that's a rarity in life. Other players in the past have used it as an excuse to sulk, right? And Dave's making that point quite handsomely. Richarlison is a player that hasn't done very much for Tottenham in 18 months. In the last 6 months has really kicked into another level. Now, there's a whole bunch of variables around his return from injury and stuff, but the guy does. We've seen in the last couple of weeks, we've seen a story come out about him calling out Conte's tactics, calling out his lack of playing time when he wasn't confident, when he wasn't happy. You've seen you've seen him make excuses. Explanations or excuses. Explanations might justify it. Excuses might try and play it under the carpet for why his performance wasn't good last year, whether he was playing injured. And if that's the case, then that's either on him or the medical team to not let him play injured. Or he's also come out and said about the fact that he's had problems back at home with people taking advantage of his generosity, all these things. Right?
I can fit you in.
Hang on, 1 second. Let me finish. Let me land on the kind of the build up to it, the premise, and then you can run with it. With Richarlison, you have a player who, when everything's going right, turns around and says, I'm really happy right now. But when I wasn't playing well, it was because of this, this, and this, and this. It wasn't because of bad form. It wasn't because of me. It was because of other things. I worry about a future scenario where Tottenham go and get a striker in that limits his game time, or Tottenham go and get a better winger that puts Sonny into the 9 and that limits his game time. I wonder whether or not he is a guy who sings fair weather tunes when the sun is shining and cries about when it was raining. And that to me is a concern. And I don't know whether you've got the same character. It's just a question about Emerson Royal. Like Emerson Royal is a guy who feeds off of the hate and goes and improves himself. Richarlison seems like a guy, to me, he appears like a guy who doesn't have the same strength of character as Emerson Royal does. Johnny, talk to me from a place of experience. You know the guy, or you have a connection. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Look. When up until the World Cup, he went to the World Cup and he had an unbelievable World Cup. I think we can agree on that, right? He scored the 2 best goals in the World Cup, came back with an injury, okay? From that moment on, okay, it wasn't just that. He had stuff going on, which I'm not going to go into for obvious reasons, that was going on off the pitch, okay? Bad stuff, not good stuff at all, right? You know, people he'd known for a long, long time. Usual scenario with sort of South Americans and money and all the rest of it. And he had a situation where he had an injury and our medical team were not picking up this injury. He was moaning about the injury, wasn't performing. And I was trying to tell people in chats that he was carrying this injury. He wasn't even fit. I remember being told by said person that there was no way he was going to play in the Arsenal game of last season. And he turns up, he's on the bench. And then he's warming up. Well, he can warm up all his life. He's not playing, right? Anyway, he ended up coming on and playing 20 minutes. My point here is that knowing that you've got mental issues, right, and you're not having you're carrying an injury, and you've got everything going on off the pitch, and you're being booed on the pitch, and you're being called all those names. It's a whole melting pot of sort of comments like you just saw before, where he's shit or he's crap or he's the worst footballer that's ever signed for the club and all the rest of it. I said to people, he's injured. You have to judge him when that injury is got rid of. So in the summer, he went back to Brazil and he had a, not procedure, but he had therapy on it, and he thought it had gone. It reoccurred itself pre-season, and he again was carrying it. Is it a shock that now he's got rid of said person who was causing the problem? He's got rid of the injury, and with Emerson's help, who's been a massive help to him, because Emerson speaks fantastic English. Richarlison's English is pretty shocking for someone who's been here 8 years, right? It's awful.
Yeah, it's terrible, isn't it?
Yeah, it's shocking, right? He should be ashamed of himself, right? But my point here is he's now in a better place. And yes, fans are going to judge him on what they see before their eyes. They can only judge on the information that they know. So when I'm telling people the information that I was privy to try and defend him, obviously I got shot down. And I understand that. You know, people making excuses. I can't make excuses for poor performances and poor football, because that's what he was producing.
Right, but Johnny, is he the sort of guy, though, that if good times are coming, the sun is shining, right? Do you fix the roof whilst the sun is shining? You should. Is he someone who, when it starts to rain again on the Richarlison career, if Tottenham go and sign a better forward, a better striker that limits his minutes, is he going to start to find excuses again and sulk and all those sorts of things?
But what you're saying there is excuses and sulking. There weren't excuses; they were facts, right? They were facts. He was carrying this injury that just.
Why was he playing?
Because the club was saying play through it. He told Ange at the beginning of the season he had this niggle. They're not interested, right? All players have niggles, right? Unless it's serious.
I don't know, mate. I think that the idea that you've got some people that have taken advantage of you in Brazil, like.
No, I'm not just.
That was one on the list, a long litany of excuses or explanations, whatever you want to call it. But like, you know, so I trusted the wrong people in Brazil. Therefore, I can't trap a bag of cement. I think they're excuses.
Right. Well, you're fuel. You are the fuel.
Well, I want him to be the fuel, but I don't think he's the whole question is he the sort of guy? Is he the sort of guy that is going to react well to criticism or react well when things go against him? Emerson Royal is. I don't think Richarlison is. You're
not interested. There's so many players out there, whether it be at our club or other clubs, that fall by the wayside for far less than he's had to put up with, right? I can tell you that, right? And what I'm saying to you is no one's interested in judging him since the injury got cleared and how he's progressed now. It's still the same.
Still judge him. I think a lot of his GA is tapping.
Yeah, it's still
take away the 2 goals against Everton.
You see what I'm saying? I'm not saying he's the greatest striker in the world. I'm not saying that. But when you have the agenda, it's not for changing. It's
not an agenda. It's not an agenda.
You just said it doesn't matter. He's still rubbish.
Look, no, I didn't say it doesn't matter. He's still right. I said I still judge him, which is what we should all do as fans. We should all be judging whether or not you're getting value for money out of your team, and whether or not you think that the player that is saying, "I'm happy now, everything's good in my life." But the reason why I wasn't pulling my weight was because nothing was good in my life. Well, what happens the first sign that something isn't good in his life again? And that will happen if Tottenham go and buy a better striker.
What happened to mental health issues, Brian? Sean? You know, what happened, you know, like suddenly, you know, like mental health, right? It depends on the player. If a player like Harry Kane came out and said he was going through a bad period, right? And he's because he had issues off the pitch that were affecting his game, everyone would understand.
All those things have gone away now because he started to score.
No, I'm just saying, right? He started to score because they cured the injury, right?
Well, so all the other excuses around his inability to trust his friends and family.
I'm not saying, but you're saying
that's suddenly not an issue anymore. But it was an issue when he wasn't scoring. I just find that this guy's an excuse merchant.
So that's what I'm saying. So you have an agenda. That's what I'm saying.
No, I'm analysing. It's not an agenda. An agenda is someone who comes in with a predetermined belief. I'm analysing the scenario and saying this is how I feel about him. I don't have to subscribe to this notion.
No, you don't.
Because I worry that the second that Tottenham improve in the forward line in numbers this summer, and I think we are going to, clearly from all reports, that is part of the focus. I think he's going to get less minutes, and I think then you're going to see the sort of guy who's miserable again, and he'll turn around and say to Ange Postecoglou, we won't hear about it for 2 years, but he'll turn around and go, I'm not getting enough minutes. This system is shit. The formation is shit, mate. And he'll learn the one English
again,
word,
you see,
mate,
Sean, again, right? Out of context, completely out of context, right? He thought it was an open forum, right? To say what you felt, that the players were there saying what they thought about what was going on and what was going on in the football, right? Okay, that's why they were all pissing themselves laughing, right? When he did it, right? I'm not sitting here and going to make excuses for how Richarlison was playing football because it's indefensible. What I'm trying to say to you here is that, judge a player on now. I mean, look, everyone's judging Ryan Sessegnon, right? Myself included. What would happen if he suddenly came back from his injury and suddenly started smashing it up, right? Are we going to say, what about the excuses? What about the excuses?
Dave,
going to go in the summer anyway.
Let me bring you in, but just quickly, Bob, why am I dumping on Richie while supporting Royale? I think Richie's demonstrated he's an effective striker. But this is the point. First of all, it's devil's advocate, right? So we have to find ways to disagree. That's the point of the show. Second of all, it's a bit of jest anyway. But more importantly, the whole point of this topic is Royale is someone who handles bad times better than Richarlison. Is the point I'm trying to make.
No, and look,
apart from his shit football.
Look, I think it's a fair point. Emerson does handle it better than Richarlison. Look,
yes,
the injury and the off the field stuff, people, taking advantage of him stuff, that's legitimate. But I'm sorry, what I can't defend him on is calling out Conte when he didn't do anything really last season in his power to sort of relieve the situation. Okay, if you've got your injury and you're at your best, well then sit back, shut up, let someone like Harry Kane or someone pull out, Conte, or have that conversation. What I don't like is players that aren't contributing for whatever reason, coming out, criticising the way we're playing football, criticising the manager and stuff like that. If you haven't been at your best to be able to affect the, change on the pitch, don't sit there in behind the scenes in the dressing room, start pulling out managers and stuff like that. For me, I think it shows a total lack of respect. However, I do take into account when a player's carrying an injury, it affects mobility, it affects absolutely everything they're doing, which does have to be taken into account.
Can I just say one thing here, right? That conversation, the context of that conversation is out of context here because he thought it was an open forum. This is not a guy that just come out and said to Conte, you're a pile of shit. Right?
No, even if it is an open forum, though, you have to have self-awareness, Johnny. If you're not contributing on whatever...
It's disrespectful to stand up and say that stuff to your manager when you haven't been pulling your weight. You haven't been doing anything. Come on, mate. Listen. I'm coming across as the bad guy in this one because I'm insensitive to mental health issues. But you're coming across. You're defending the indefensible on certain things as well.
No, I'm not defending the indefensible, right? I'm not saying. I said clearly, very clearly, right? I cannot defend his football because his football was atrocious. His whole being was atrocious. I'm not defending any of it. I'm just saying there's a reason behind it, right? Mental health issues is okay if it's player A. But it's not if it's player B, right? And what I'm saying to you is that conversation, he is not the brightest guy in the park when it comes to English. I think we've worked that one out 8 years and he still can't speak the lingo, right?
But he learned enough to say what he felt. He obviously went on Google because he said he had a script recited. He recited the script, so he went to Google Translate.
A lot of these guys know the language. They just choose not to speak it because they get out of media duties.
He understands it. His speaking is shocking. He understands more than he speaks. My point was, that's why they were all cacking themselves laughing afterwards, right? Because he missed the complete gist of it. If you read it, it clearly says.
Oh, I know. I read the story. I read the story. I know. It's lost in translation, right? Lost in translation. Yeah. The environment wasn't set up for him to do what he did, but his intention, because he misinterpreted what the forum was about, the fact that he thought it was an open forum, but still didn't. Listen, if I thought there was, when I used to work in America for a really big company, if I thought wrongly or rightly that there was an open forum to discuss how to improve, the one thing I wouldn't do as a human being with any kind of common sense is to turn around to the manager that you're not happy with for not giving you enough opportunities and say, to turn around and go, you're this and that because you're not helping me out when I haven't been performing. It reeks of, first of all, lack of self-awareness, and it also reeks of victim nature, a victim culture. And I don't think it's good enough. And listen, it is what it is. We can agree to disagree because we've been going for an hour and 15, and I've still got 5 more topics.
What happens if he keeps scoring, Sean? What do we do then? Do we just bin him like in the hope?
No,
I mean,
listen,
there are fans out there.
For me, I'm delighted.
Sean.
I'm delighted with his output, but I would still maintain the same narrative that you put Sonny in all the games that he scored in the 9 role. You put Sonny in that role, and Tottenham win more of those games.
I think that's
Sean, I'm not comparing. Look, I'm not comparing Son.
Most of the goals he's got, with the exception of the Everton game, Everton goals, he was absolutely insane. But that was on us again. Come of the hour. What's the nuance in that particular environment? He's playing against his old team, right? So, but you take him out of that. I think
is it a squad game of football, Sean? Are we a squad game of football? Right? Okay, we are a squad game.
If you get your money back, Johnny, I'll let Dave come in. Last question is quick. Sorry, Dave. Dave, you can have the floor. Johnny, one word. If you can get your money back on Richarlison in the summer, 60 million quid, do you take it? One word, yes or no?
No, I'm not going to answer it in one word because I'm not. It's impossible. Because I'll tell you, I will sell Richarlison in the summer if we're buying 2 strikers. Because we don't need one striker. We need someone and Richarlison. If we want to go into Europe, we cannot. If you think, we'll sell Richarlison, it's okay. We're going to find a striker out there who's going to bang in 25 goals. Oh, great. Okay. Try finding him, number 1. Then number 2, what happens if he gets injured? Back to square one. No, we keep Richarlison and we add to Richarlison a top striker and we play the squad game, or we sell Richarlison and we buy 2 quality strikers.
Okay, fair enough. Dave, sorry, mate. It's supposed to be your show and I'm talking too much. Sorry, Dave. Go on, carry on, mate.
Must be a three-way. This is what I love. Look, what I would say, when it comes to Richarlison this season, take him on what he's done on the football pitch. He scored goals. A lot of people say to me, Son would have scored Richarlison's goals. He wouldn't have scored that header against Man United because Son doesn't compete in the air. You know, and stuff like that. There's goals that Richarlison has added value. There's been a lot of times we've been able to throw balls into the box and get him on the end of it because he will go and attack it. Son doesn't do that. When Son plays up front, you have to play a slightly different way, with him. But when it comes to Richarlison, I think this is the point that many people miss. We speak about contributions. He's the only other player, bar Son, in double digits this season in terms of scoring. Is Richarlison really the biggest problem as other people make him out to be? Or is it others not contributing to great effect? I get Richarlison's not a perfect player. I fully get that. But at the end of the day, he's the only one in double digits outside of Son. That's got to stand for something. You know, he's contributing this season. He's scoring goals, and when he's playing out on the left, he's contributing with a couple of assists. Okay, he doesn't move like Son. He doesn't have the fluidity in his body like Son. I get it. But at the end of the day, he would be a useful squad player heading into next season. I take Sean's point. Will he be okay with being a squad player and stuff? Well, we won't know until we head into next season. But this whole narrative, sell Richarlison this summer, I think is absolutely codswallop. Tottenham will not sell the guy if he's the only other player outside Son to reach double digits. Nowhere near going to happen. You see people make defenses for like Brennan Johnson and stuff like that. Brennan Johnson's had just as much of a season as Richarlison has, but he's got less goals and contributions and stuff like that. But when you criticise Brennan Johnson, you're not allowed. But it's okay and it's cool and trendy to pull down Richarlison, even though he's contributing this season. I don't get it.
And
I think it's okay to critique. I think it's just to finish on that. I think it's okay to critique, not criticize. To critique.
No, I get it, right? But everybody. For instance, right,
everybody, you're getting paid a lot of money. You're getting paid a lot of money, and it's coming out of fans' pockets. For that, there comes a price, and that price.
I'm not saying it's not okay to critique. You know me, Sean. I love a critique, right? It's one of my favorite things in life. It's the spice of life, right? But why are we critiquing a guy that's contributing? That's what I don't understand. It's okay to critique people that aren't contributing, but he's contributing.
It's worse than that, Dave.
There's times at half time. There's times at half time, right, where Sonny isn't in the game whatsoever. I don't see any comments about that. But if that's Richarlison at halftime, take him off. He's useless. He's this, he's that, and everything else.
The
And
same
that's
thing
what
happens
I
with Brennan
don't like.
Johnson. Same thing happens with Timo Werner. The only person who doesn't get it is Sonny. And the reason why is because there's people that are terrified of criticizing Captain Fantastic, just like there's people that are people that don't accept criticism of Ange. And there was a comment there a minute ago about
it's like,
everybody at Club Tottenham Hotspur, if you're getting employed and getting paid millions of pounds a year, that's coming from people like me, Johnny, Dave, and all of you that are watching are from some form or fashion, whether you're buying an access to a sports subscription, going to the game, buying a shirt. These guys are getting paid with your money, right? It's your money. Therefore, it's free and fair, in my opinion, in a free speech society to be able to say your piece. As long as you're not, racist or feminist or whatever it is, if you're not breaking any rules around that stuff, as long as you've got a legitimate opinion that you think is legitimate, let's put it out into the open forum and we'll just bake it out.
But the thing is,
sorry, just quickly, Johnny, the people that criticize you, Johnny, I haven't said this with you on the screen, but I did say it the week before when you weren't here.
Yeah.
The people that went after you in the comments, the hypocrisy is astounding to me. Yeah. That they think that it's okay for them to publicly criticize you, but you're not okay to publicly criticize a guy who's getting paid. You're not getting paid for this. I'd love to pay you, mate, but I don't make enough money out of this. I don't make any money out of this. Like, you know what I mean? Like everyone is free to have an opinion, and it's not we're all just trying to find the best mechanism.
I get that. We're all trying to find the best. Look, the thing is that the one thing I find really galling is even when Richarlison plays well, right, is the hate. I don't get it. Look, I have made comments about Brendan Johnson. I've gone on here and I've said that Brendan Johnson is not aggressive enough. He doesn't take his man on, and I've bemoaned it. Guess what? I saw against Palace. He won 3 tackles on the trot. He battled for it. He was aggressive, and I saw even more of the same against Villa. I applauded it, okay? I applauded it. I'm not here slagging Ange off. I've never been Ange out, but I'm allowed to turn around and say, you know what? I'd like to see more in our tactics. I'd like to see more interaction on the pitch. When I watched Arteta the other night, when I watched Simeone last night, and the interaction with his players, trying to drive those players all the way through that game, I just miss that. I miss my manager doing that. I'm allowed to comment on that.
You are allowed to. You are allowed to. Mate.
I don't think that it's he's a bad manager. I'm just questioning. We're allowed to question. Otherwise, we'd be coming on here, you, me, and Dave, and we'd be sitting there blowing smoke up everyone's arse and not talking truth, right? And the truth is, everyone has an agenda. It's whether or not, we all have our favourite players, whether or not you can accept when you got it wrong. I said Pedro Porro couldn't defend, right? Before he came. I felt vindicated when he played that first game against Leicester and we got absolutely trounced. Yeah. He was all over the place, but he's not that player now. Right?
But the only person that's got it spot on every single time about everything is probably me. So let's just move on.
I do want to add one thing in before we move
go on, Dave. Go on.
I know some people, they have their opinions on Richarlison, but I think one thing they have to take into account: who did you think would step up in Son's absence, and who actually stepped up in Son's absence?
Exactly.
What do you mean?
Okay, everyone thought Kulusevski would step up. He didn't. Johnson would step up. He didn't. Werner would step up. He didn't. Richarlison stepped up in Son's absence. Richarlison scored nearly every game that Son was out. When he was out at the representing Korea at the Asian Cup, Richarlison was the one that stepped up and started scoring goals.
And that's it's fine and fair. It's fine and fair. But like I would go back and argue. Can you remember Richarlison ever scoring a goal that wasn't a 1-touch or a 2-touch goal?
Well, some would say that's a quite a mark of a quality striker.
Well, if you want to, exactly. There's always a way you can analyze it. But as a striker that's playing a sacrificial lamb role, you need a player to be more well-rounded. You need someone who can touch the ball once, and twice and 3 times, and Richarlison can't do it. I'm
People
playing
made
the
that argument when they were calling
hang
for
on.
Gift Orban in the summer, though. They weren't making the argument they wanted a more rounded striker when they were calling for Gift Orban.
Gift Orban's a fantastic player, mate. Maybe he's not ready for the Premier League, but I guarantee
Sure.
you'll be hearing more of his name. I know you like to remind me of Gift Orban.
No, not just you, but loads of people over the summer Gift Orban, and now they're sitting there going, we want a more well-rounded player. Richarlison's a better well-rounded player than Gift Orban is.
Come on,
I don't know about that.
Sean, behave yourself, mate.
Don't know about that.
For Brazil, mate. One of the great. Look, go and speak to the Athletic who did
Richarlison
a big article.
is not a well-rounded player. Come on. What are we doing here?
Mate, listen.
Richarlison's first touch.
Go and look at the Athletic who did
He's got
a big
like
article.
a bloody spring on his foot.
Go and look at Athletic's article about Richarlison and his one-touch football and tell me about it, okay? Not from me.
Okay.
From the Athletic.
Oh, what? Is this a pitch to authority because the Athletic's got a good journalistic name?
I'm just saying.
Their opinion is more.
I'm just saying.
What are we doing here? What are we doing here?
Sean.
Come on,
Richarlison doesn't come back and start scoring.
Awful. I want to say he's got the touch of a
scoring.
certain type of person, but I'm not going to say it.
Live on YouTube, Sean Butler outed as a Richie hater. I hope he doesn't keep scoring goals, mate.
Mate, I love the fact that he's scoring goals. Good. You're getting paid a lot of money to do that job. But that's what he's there to do, right? He doesn't really create. But listen, in the last 3 months, he's been fantastic. He has. But in the previous 18 months, he wasn't.
I agree.
Okay, then. We're good. The whole point of the conversation was, what's the difference between Emerson Royal receiving criticism and taking it on the chin and learning and growing from it? And I don't know whether Richarlison will. I think Richarlison likes to find reasons to justify why
Not everyone's got that strength of character, Sean.
And that's fine. And that's fine.
Why we have something called mental health.
And that's fine. That's fine. I'm not gonna sit here and debate mental health because I'm not an expert on it. But at the end of the day, I just worry whether or not when we go and improve in certain areas in the summer, are we going to see a regression of Richarlison from the confident version of him we have now to a version where he's unhappy because he's not getting the minutes, and is he suddenly going to be moaning about things again?
Do you think one striker is going to be enough? If you get rid of Richarlison, I'll ask you a simple question, honest question.
No, but you got Sonny, you have Valiz. I personally, I'm okay with Richarlison staying, but I want to see a better number 9.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. So I'm asking you, if we got rid of Richarlison, do you think just getting one striker in is going to be enough for us? Because I don't. Not if you're going to be in European football.
Listen, I also think you need a brilliant forward, right? If you're going to sell, let's say you get rid of Brian Hill, right?
Who?
And you make Timo Werner permanent.
Yeah.
Then you also go and get another one, whether it's Pedro Neto, whether it's Bakayoko, whoever. You bring in someone else that can play a versatile role.
Nico Williams.
Brennan Johnson looks like a player who's happy coming off the bench. Kulusevski's a player, and we're going to come to Kulusevski now. Guys, have you guys still got 25 minutes? Because I need this 3 more topics.
Go on then.
Okay. And my point is, you add 2 more players, you get rid of Brian Hill, and you make Werner permanent. You bring in a striker and a winger. I don't know how many minutes Richarlison gets in a fully fit squad, and I worry about the version of Richarlison.
Who's your striker, Sean? Who's your striker? Who's the guy that's going to get you 25, 30 goals? The missing ingredient.
Well, it could be anyone. It could be Ivan Toney. It could be Santiago Jimenez. For me personally, here's the guy I think, and I'm about to do a video on it. I think the most logical option for what Tottenham need in the summer is Alexander Isak. I think given the FFP situation at Newcastle, I think that guy is going. I think that guy, if we could get him and we could lean into him, I think Isak would be absolutely sensational in an Ange Ball system. And I think it'd be brilliant. You could play him off the left, you can play him in the middle, you can play him as a striker. He's got the razzle-dazzle effect. I think he's got absolutely everything. And I think that Newcastle are a team that are going to have to sell to be able to get the right side of certain things under this version of FFP or the future version of FFP. And therefore, I sit there and think, if Tottenham can go and get an Isaac and a Bakayoko, or an Isaac and a Neto, whatever, and you let Hill go and you make Timo Werner permanent, I sit there and I worry about whether Richarlison's going to really be happy at Tottenham. And if you, I don't, and Isaac gets happy Richarlison is a valuable Richarlison. An unhappy Richarlison is not very, it's not good.
That's why we need 2 strikers. That's what I'm saying. If you got to get rid. Isaac, very difficult to see us actually coming and going. I don't think there's the amount of strikers out there that are banging in 25 goals that everyone who's sitting out there as Spurs fans, we just go and get another 25 goal striker. They ain't out there. And if they are out there, they come in here first.
I do think, that comes down to good scouting. If you're not going to spend, your 80 million on a Tony, a Vlahovic, and Isaac, someone like that, for me, it's about good scouting, bringing in someone that's maybe bagging between 10 and 15 goals somewhere else and hoping that when he comes into the Ange system, he provides a lot more chances, get him in front of goal a lot more regularly, and he can up that tally. I think that's maybe... Look, to be honest with you, I've been crying out for a striker since the summer, but I think we're all going to be disappointed this summer. I think we'll keep Richarlison. I think some will obviously stay. And I think Valise will come in and be kept around next season. He's getting experience in a top 5 league for Sevilla, whether he's the answer or not. But I think that's the route that Tottenham's going to go with it, personally. I don't think we will buy a striker this summer. I'll be shocked if we do. I'll be absolutely delighted.
Lads, look, in the interest that we could talk about this all day long, it's been a wonderful show so far. It's back to the devil's advocate at its best, where we've been arguing the entire time. Absolutely love it. I'm going to have to slice and dice this up into segments to put it out there for people that haven't watched the whole thing.